Okay, week 13. We read chapter 13 of Showtime and chapter 9 of Our Musicals Ourselves. Looking at Stempel's Showtime, I really feel like this chapter should have not been called Concepts, or it should have been called Concepts, the Time of Prince and Sondheim, because he really, for me, it seemed like he really just focused on how Prince and Stephen Sondheim and their contributions overall. He starts with Cabaret and talking about that being really the first show in this style, or one of the biggest ones in that this style. And I liked how the Sondheim Prince collaboration and partnership was explained. That yet again, what we've seen several times over and over again, that once you get someone in a partnership, a lot of times they get stale or stagnant because they find what works for them, they find success in that, and then they're not innovating anymore. So even though they may have started out with something very innovative, again, like Oklahoma, with Rodgers and Hammerstein being the first all-inclusive integrated musical, we're getting the same thing with Sondheim and Prince, but then they stop innovating. However, you can see, I also found that you really see them and their partnership continuing on in their future works in Sundays in the Park with George and Assassins, and the way that Evita and Phantom of the Opera were staged, and how they did continue to focus on the introspective ideas more than necessarily plot in their works, and how they highlighted things. You could clearly still see that they have a lot of influence over each other. And we have Sweeney Todd, which was talked about in both stories, about how it was very just inside the brain of the main characters, and the fact that we're able to champion Todd, who is a serial killer, and we want to root for him, speaks very much of how it was staged and how the movements were created so that we feel for these characters, and we can not necessarily put ourselves in their shoes, but also we can see the injustice of some of the characters. And those things coming forward. I wrote in my post that I can see elements from all of these separate things that they did in how Prince staged Phantom of the Opera later, especially in the Phantom moments, like in his lair, and the disharmony of the music, which I know was not how Prince is, but to take that disharmony and you could see bits of Sweeney Todd, and when you put the pieces together and you realize that Sweeney Todd came first, I could see those things. And then Sondheim with the swift movements and vocal changes of Into the Woods, and that really makes us rely on, like, what are these characters thinking? And it's telling these stories, but it's not about the fairy tales, it's about what each character is thinking. We have a moment in the woods with the baker's wife and things like that, where it's just what's going on in their head more than the actual, like, how the play is affecting them. And I'm hoping that what I'm saying is making sense. And then when we look at Jones really doesn't talk about how Prince much at all. He does touch on Sondheim a little bit more specifically in these shows that he highlights. And instead of calling it concept theater, he calls it fragmented, which made way more sense to me. In that the world felt disjointed, and so many people felt like their place shifted, and they didn't really know where they belonged anymore. And we're seeing that in the plays that were happening. I want to see the Me Nobody Knows. That sounds like it could be such an incredible piece to help students and children feel genuinely seen. And if not to do the Me Nobody Knows specifically, but to also like create maybe a project based on that, where kids are getting to showcase and perform their own stories of their own experiences in life, to give voice and really be heard, which Working also did for the working class people. I didn't like they weren't calling it professional jobs. I understand why, but also, if that is someone's profession, if it's the only job they've ever done, why not? And then as a teacher, we're in that weird limbo of like, we're a professional, but a lot of times we're treated in the same vein as working class individuals who aren't professionals. So I would be interested in seeing that performance as well. But I can also see how the general middle class population who are coming to these shows would find themselves disinterested in this one, because I feel like it would have called them out more than they would have been comfortable with. And then hearing about Runaways, of course, like my stomach dropped, and I was just like, of course we have someone who could have done something really amazing and instead turned it into an agenda piece where they were essentially profiting off of other people. Of course it happened again. I wish I could be surprised that humanity does that, but we still find ourselves in that pattern. Mostly doing good, mostly uplifting others, but you still will always find someone who is willing to use other people to their advantage. And I really thought that from what I read about the concept musical and calling it the fragmented, a chorus line leaving us in a liminal space the entire show. We are waiting. We are waiting with these dancers. We don't know what the outcome. I mean, like, you do if you've seen it, but I've seen it, and honestly, when Jones was like, yo, who remembers anything outside of casting? He was like, yeah, honestly, I don't. I don't remember who the 7 were that got cast. You know, touche, fair point, because I didn't. And leaving the audience and the characters in this state of fragmented space for the duration of the show is just kind of the epitome. So at first I would have said like, oh, I think in my first post I'd said something else, but by the end of it, like, a chorus line really embodies, I feel like, the fragmented space, and that we're in their heads the whole time. It's their reactions, it's their waiting, it's their pain, it's their memories, and we're all just waiting. It's like waiting for Godot, but not. Anyway, week 13.